What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Six Pack News Cycle. I'm your host, Dylan Clemens. Here with me, as always, is my co-host, Michael Plant. We like to keep things short and sweet here, so we're just going to jump into the big news of the day, and that was Baker Mayfield being named the starter in Carolina, Mike. I think we kind of saw this coming, obviously, when they traded for him, but I just want to hear from you. How does this affect the Panthers offense?
I mean, like you said, we kind of saw this coming when they did trade for him. It's just nice to see that affirmation and that confirmation. Man, I was looking at a stat that Richard Seville pulled for us, and Baker has not produced any 1,000-yard receivers in his career in Cleveland. So I love the hype behind it. I just want us to temper our expectations a little bit because this is still the Carolina Panthers. The offensive line is not good. He had a good offensive line in Cleveland. He's going to be running around for his life a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you there. Just to touch up on that stat that you said about Richard, he did produce 1,000 yards receivers in one of the years in Cleveland.
One of the five?
Yeah, Jarvis Landry and Odell both went over 1,000 yards. I want to say in 2020, the year before Odell getting traded to the Rams, obviously mid-season.
Nah, I will give him a little, I'll play devil's advocate here. He did go through 3 offensive coordinators. It was at least 3. It was possibly 4. Now's the 4th, going to Carolina. But, I mean, he's got the weapons. He's got C-Mac. It's just the offensive line. That's all I'm really worried about with Baker. I think his decision-making is subpar. It's good enough.
With what we saw with what he produced with Jarvis Landry and Odell, DJ Moore is coming off 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons, or 3 straight, one of the two. Are we going to see
4 touchdowns?
Are we going to see another 1,000-yard season out of DJ Moore? What are your expectations for him?
I do expect probably another 1,000-yard season. I don't expect it to be pretty. It's not like he's getting the ball from Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes, Josh Allen, any of those guys. This is still Baker Mayfield, so there's probably going to be some overthrows. But if he can get him the ball, he's still going to get 1,000 yards. He's going to be the number 2 option in this offense behind C-Mac. Mm-hmm. I like it. It's just I don't know if it raises his ceiling that much more. Maybe an extra touchdown. Maybe he breaks that 4 touchdowns.
See, but like that year that Odell went over 1,000 yards, what was funny was he caught 4 touchdowns.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that's funny. I just say temper expectations. To be honest with you, neither Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, C-Mac, no one really went up in my rankings after this news because I expected this already.
Yeah, for sure. And that's totally fair. But jumping over to the other news of the day, a little bit surprising just because of the cap hit that the Raiders got, but they cut running back Kenyan Drake today. I'm just curious, Mike, from a fantasy football standpoint, is this good news for Josh Jacobs or just as the Raiders backfield as a whole? Because, they got Jacobs, Zamir White. Amir Abdullah is going to probably do some of the pass catching, and I'm pretty sure they have Brandon Bolden too, that Josh McDaniels brought Raiders with him.
Yeah, Brandon Bolden's just going to muddle things up even worse. Now, in the grand scheme of the backfield, this is great for the backfield. It's one less mouth to feed. One less guy in the passing game that Derek Carr had to feed. Now Josh McDaniels could probably work in his boy that he's been hyping up off season and in the training camps, Amir Abdullah, as the pass catching back. I'm sure Brandon Bolden's going to make his cycles in there, but it seems like Amir Abdullah is going to be the main passing back. And then it sounds like Josh Jacobs and Zamir White are going to kind of share this workload. I'm guessing Josh Jacobs getting the majority of it and probably the high priority touches as well. I moved Josh Jacobs up spot. I moved him past A.J. Dillon just because this kind of gives him just a little bit more value. And we do project the Raiders offense to be better. They're going to score more. I wouldn't be surprised if Josh Jacobs gets double-digit touchdowns and, falls into 1,000 yards.
Right. Yeah, like what if Josh Jacobs is Damian Harris like he was last year in the Patriots offense? What if Zamir
Exactly.
White is Ramondre Stevenson? And what if Amir Abdullah is just James White? You know what I mean?
Yep.
And we saw Damian Harris put out solid fantasy value last year. He was just very, very touchdown dependent, which is fine, but you got to score the touchdown to produce fantasy
Yep. The
numbers.
touchdowns give you the ceiling.
Mm-hmm. And then a few little quick notes, guys. Just thought this was funny. I was scrolling through Twitter the other day, and Antonio Gibson was returning kicks for the Commanders. Michael Platt, this can't be a good thing, right, for his fantasy purposes?
It's not good. No, he is becoming a jack of all trades. I saw Sleeper was no, it was Underdog as I was drafting him as my RB3. I don't know. I think this is all kind of a scare. Obviously, we got to make our adjustments a little bit, but I think it's just a scare.
Are you buying out on Antonio Gibson right now by chance or no?
Am I what?
Are you buying the discount on Antonio Gibson in drafts right now? Mike, I'm looking
I will take the discount. Depending on I do not want him as an RB1 or 2, but I'll take him as a 3.
I'm looking at Fantasy Pros ECR right now, and he is currently going at running back 26. So, like, the value is there right now.
He's finished as an RB1 the past 2 years. Now, granted, it's had injuries involved with J.D. McKissick, and we haven't had Brian Robinson there, but there's other running backs that have been there that have worked into the mix as well. So, I mean, we've seen this before.
Right. And his ADP I'm looking right now is still running back 19. Let me ask you this now, since we talked about Jacobs earlier. Would you rather have Antonio Gibson or Josh Jacobs?
Josh Jacobs, just because he's in a better offense. I kind of view them both as the same player at this point. Just one's in a better offense. One has double-digit touchdown potential. Antonio Gibson, it's a little bit harder for him to get that, I think.
Mm-hmm. I'm just starting to think us as a fantasy community might value Antonio Gibson more than what Ron Rivera and the Commanders value him, is what it seems like to me anyways,
It's true. And the guy is a wide receiver converted running back. I don't know how many times we got to say this. Of course, he's going to have fumbling issues. Mm-hmm. He's got to just be able to hold on the ball, and he's going to be a fantasy gold mine.
Yep, for sure. Then jumping over to the next piece of news, we got Romeo Doubs catching 2 touchdowns, guys. One on a beautiful fade route from Jordan Love. Mike, are you buying in as Romeo Doubs being the possible wide receiver 1 in this offense? I know, and sorry, Aaron Rodgers also complimented Doubs today as well, which is, you love to see that because Rodgers just doesn't throw out compliments just like that. It was just last week that he was talking about how the young receivers were running wrong routes. They were dropping passes here and there, and he was saying how they needed to clean them up.
My heart loves it. I love it for Romeo Doubs. I love it for Aaron Rodgers. I love it for the Packers. He's not the number 1 receiver, no. I'm sorry. I projected as still Allen Lazard. He's got more experience. I love Romeo Doubs. I do. He's a steal. It sounds like he's been a gem so far, but it's Allen Lazard. He's the number 1. I think Romeo Doubs, I definitely moved him up in my rankings. I moved him up to wide receiver 99. And he was, at like in the 130s. So I love seeing this red zone work for him because it shows as a red zone threat in potentially regular season games.
Yep. And he is a good sized dude too, And then just one more thing before we get out of here, guys. I just wanted to mention Tyquan Thornton. The borderline, he was kind of breaking out a little bit this preseason. He suffered a collarbone injury. It sounds like he's out 8 weeks. Just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, not great. But gives a little bit more consistency to Devontae Parker, Jacoby Myers, who was already consistent. Not great for the rookie, but he'll be back.
I like Devontae Parker as a late round flyer, guys. Just a little quick tidbit.
And hell, you could get Jacoby Myers late, guys, too. He's pretty much a steal in PPR drafts.
Yep, for sure. But Mike, how about you take us out? That's all the news we got. So,
all right. Yep. As Dylan stated, that is all the news we got. So before we head out here, I just want to always mention, like, subscribe, comment if you guys want. We love all the, notifications, the mentions, the interactions with all you guys. It really helps us, and we want to help you. And also, I just want to mention, we got a lot of good content coming out this season. We got some going right now. Some of the shows we got going is the Fantasy Six Pack Hour with me, Joe, and AJ. You won't see me. You'll see them. We got the Wolfpack Fantasy Football Podcast with Dylan, Ike, me, and then sometimes we like to work in a guest in there. We had our first one not too long ago. Then we got the DFS Den with Dave Eddy. He's always dishing out good knowledge with his DFS facts, and he always is gloating about it in the Discord when he wins a bunch of money. And then we got the Fantasy Edge with Richard Seville. And we have Everyday Fantasy Football with Adam Stark. And I can't remember the other two guests, and you're going to have to forgive me. But that's it, guys. I just want to say, have a great night.